Knees and toes.
Does shoulders have to do with anything?
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
The
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil, episode 415. Remember, we're on Thursday this week. We're on Thursday next week. We'll have a bye week for the Bandits, and then we'll be Thursday again. So 3 of the next 4 quote-unquote Friday shows, preview shows, will be on Thursday because the Bandits play on Friday. They lumped all the Friday games together, Phil. I know there was a 4th one earlier in the season, but yeah, we're on Thursday the next couple weeks to preview the Bandits versus Warriors today. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. I know Apple is in the spring. They're going to be getting video. I know Spotify has video, but currently the only video version we have is on YouTube. So if you want to see our beautiful faces, go there. If you want to just hear our luscious voices, that's probably the right word for it, right? If not,
yeah, I think so.
Go to any of the other podcasting sites except for Netflix. They're not returning my phone calls. I don't like them. I might cancel my subscription. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's article came out on Tuesday. Go read it there. First time he's written about a victory in a few games. So I know it was nice for him. And then look for a time breakdown, some description of the show. This past week, we had an interview on Wednesday, so just yesterday, with Brad Challoner, breaking down Vancouver versus Buffalo in more detail, more Vancouver side. That's what these interviews are. You're learning more about the team that Buffalo is going to be facing, because why not get more info from the people that cover that team and follow that team more closely than we do, because we're mostly focused on
it's a brilliant series that you started.
Thank you. You're
welcome.
It's the guests that make it better. I'm just the idiot that
That's fair.
frames the questions. And then Power Rankings and Week 13 Pick'em will be out on Friday. If you haven't picked yet, I'm sorry, polls are closed. They're closing right as we're recording right now on Wednesday at 7:36. They should be all closed by now. On today's episode, we got Bandits versus Warriors preview and outlook for Week 13. There's only 3 other games across the NLL. So we'll dive into the preview now. Bandits versus Warriors, game 1 of 2 this year. For anybody just joining us, we've been going over the gauntlet that Buffalo's in the middle of. Well, I should say not in the middle of. They're starting it right now. Vancouver's the start of this absolute just juggernaut of a schedule they got coming up. Next weekend, they got 2 games. And I'm in the press box for both. So we're going to be testing our luck here, boys and girls. Let's see if I can break the drought. But yeah, Buffalo's coming in.
I did lose my last press box game, so maybe that was the flip. Maybe you'll start to win them now.
I'll take it.
My luck is over, and
for...
it's your time to shine.
Yeah, I'll be in the box for the home game where Buffalo's hosting Saskatchewan, and I just got word I'll officially be in the press box for Buffalo versus Toronto and Hamilton. So I'm if they lose both of those games, Phil, I'm not going to be allowed in press boxes ever again, because they still have not won this year.
My game was against Philly, so you can't get much lower than losing a home game against the Wings.
That is very true. I'm hoping you took the curse.
I think so. I mean, that's got to be it.
We're gonna test that theory. Buffalo's coming in 4-6. Vancouver's 6-3. Buffalo's on a 1-game winning streak. Vancouver's on a 1-game losing streak because they just lost to Saskatchewan in overtime. I was gonna say by 1, but that's unnecessary.
That is how overtime works.
Buffalo's coming in 7th in the league in scoring, 11.11.
Nice.
Is it a palindrome?
Make a wish.
Yeah. That too.
Yes.
That too. Vancouver, goals for, 6th in the league, 11.33. Goals against, it's a bit flipped. Buffalo's down in 9th at 11.67. Vancouver's in 3rd, 9.33. Power play, they're 1-2. Buffalo dropped to 62.5. Vancouver's at 52%. Penalty kill, both near the top. Buffalo's in 4th at 61.1. Vancouver's down in 1st. And by down in 1st, I mean up in 1st, 70.7. And then for shots, this one's weird. This one doesn't really make sense because Vancouver's 6th in scoring, but they're in 12th in shots for at 46.44. Buffalo's in 7th in scoring, but they're 3rd in shots at 53.45. And then another reversal. Buffalo's 3rd in allowing shots at 47.45. Vancouver's 6th at just about 50.5. These numbers don't make any sense, Phil. The math ain't mathing here.
Yeah, it shows, I think, realistically, it shows how efficient Vancouver is when they do shoot. Their shots are, they're not just, I mean, no offense to Rochester, but Rochester throws a lot of shots at the net, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're quality shots, whereas Vancouver, it looks like they keep their shots a little bit lower, but they are making them count. And speaking of making them count, their 3 losses this year have come when they did not score at least 10 goals, and only one of their wins has come when they scored under 10 goals. So that is going to be a really big, obviously, focus point for the Bandits. And right now, even though it's been struggling quite a bit recently, I still think the strength of this team currently is the defense and Matt Vince. So I think all eyes are going to be on what they're able to do and how they can contain this Vancouver offense that, other than this last game, was on a bit of a run, scoring 12, 16, and 16. So they really found their stride there for a little bit, but then the Rush were able to slow them down, and it took them to overtime, and they were only able to get 8 goals for. Obviously, the Rush are just a teeny bit better right now than the Bandits, but hopefully they showed something on tape of how to slow down this Vancouver offense, because I think that's going to be the difference in this one. I don't really have a ton of faith still in the Bandits offense, but I do like what the Bandits have in talent on defense and goaltending. And I think this game and a lot of their games upcoming are going to be very heavily relied on that defensive unit.
Yeah, and earlier in the season, they were struggling to put the ball in the back of the net. Even when they were winning, it wasn't like they were lighting up the lamp.
Yep.
The last 3 or 4 games, excluding the Saskatchewan that you mentioned, that's when they kind of figured out their rhythm. And I know 2 of them were against Rochester, where they scored 16 in both. But yeah, you still got to put the ball in the back of the net, and they were finally able to do it. It seemed like everything was finally clicking, and we're going to go over this offense, but their offense is nothing to joke about. They went out in the offseason, they did exactly what Kurt Malowski said he was going to do, and get forwards to help this team. And they bring over Jesse King. They bring over Curtis Dixon. Marcus Clare shifts back. Adam Charlambidi shifts back. You finally got more help for Keegan Ball. Ryan Sheridan's playing this year when he sat out all last year with injury. It's a good offense. It's a very physical defense, and you have one of, if not, I shouldn't say he is the best goalie, but collectively, looking at the numbers the past 5, 6, 7 years, I would say Christian Del Bianco is probably the most consistent, well-rounded, elite goalie in this league. I know Brett Dobson and Dylan Ward are having incredible years this year, so they are outpacing Christian Del Bianco, but if you take it as an average, I think Christian Del Bianco is the best goalie in the league by far for the last few years combined. So even if you shut down the offense and you were able to get through the defense, then you just got that stalwart and net to try to beat. But we'll go over history quick. And Buffalo did face Vancouver 3 times last year. They went 2-1, and they won the games that mattered. The regular season game, March 29th in Buffalo, they lost 13-12. Buffalo outshot them. They won in the faceoff draw. Vancouver was 3 for 5 on the power play. Buffalo was 2 for 5 on the power play. Vancouver pretty much led the majority of the game. They led 4-3 after 1, 7-4 at half, Buffalo got it to 9-8 after 3. Then they would score 3 straight in the fourth quarter to take an 11-9 run. But Vancouver would score 4 goals in a matter of 3 minutes and 54 seconds to take a 13-11 lead. Buffalo would get 1 goal back, but they weren't able to cash it in. I believe this was the one where Connor Farrell won 2 straight draws to give Buffalo the opportunity where they just weren't able to cash it in. But take that with a grain of salt, because again, you did not face Jesse King or Curtis Dixon in this lineup. They were led by Adam Charlambidis, who went 1, 6, and 7. Keegan Ball had 4, 6, and 10. Christian Del Bianco made 42 saves. And then you're looking for Buffalo. Byrne 2, 3, and 5. MacKay had 3. Byrne went 1, 6, and 7. Vince 32 saves. But then you're looking at the playoff games now. This is when it kind of flipped for the defense in Mad Vince in net, because Buffalo only allowed 3 goals.
As it often does.
He only allowed 3 goals in game 1 on May 2nd in Buffalo. They won 9-3. They outshot them. Vancouver got more face-off wins by 9-7. They went 3 for 5 on the power play once again, but Buffalo went 4 for
All
7.
3 goals.
That is very true. They didn't score a single 5-on-5 goal. Buffalo led 3-1 after 1, 7-2 at half, and 8-2 at the end of 3. Ball was involved in all 3 of the goals. He went 1, 2, and 3. Charlotte Beatties had 2 assists, and Christian Obianco made 39 saves. MacKay went off for 4 goals. Smith 2, 1, and 3. Byrne 1, 4, and 5. Vince 35 saves on 38 shots. I mean, this was the best game that I have seen Mad Vince play in a Buffalo Bandits uniform, maybe ever. And it showed. And then you flash forward 2 days later on Sunday, game 2, Buffalo takes it 11-9. Buffalo outshot them, but finally Vancouver got more faceoff wins. Buffalo went 2 for 3 on the power play. Vancouver 0 for 2. It was 2-2 after 1. 5-4 Buffalo at halftime. Vancouver actually held a 1-goal lead after 3, but Buffalo outscored them 4-1 in the fourth quarter. Charlotte Beatties 3, 4, and 7. Claridge had 5 points. That was his best game versus Buffalo on the year. Ball 2, 2, and 4, so you were able to shut him down. And then for Buffalo, MacKay 3, 3, and 6. This was, I know that Finals MVP is supposed to be Finals MVP, even though they should rename it to Playoff MVP. This series here, to me, is what won Ian MacKay that award.
Yep.
Whatever you want to say, finals, whatever. It was based on the whole playoffs. But, I think in total, if you sum up all 3 of those games, Buffalo had more goals, 32-25. They outshot them 142-121. They outdrew them at the faceoff dot, 34-29. And they had more power play opportunities, 8 for 15, and Vancouver was 6 for 12. So I personally think that not just based on prior history, but in this game, looking at the special team stats, Buffalo's coming in as the underdog. I don't think that's anything shocking in this matchup. I think it's going to come down to special teams. If Buffalo's able to cash in on special teams, that means going more than 50% when you get those opportunities and limiting what Vancouver can do. You can pull this upset. I'm not going to say it's easy, but I think that is one of the key ways that you're able to do that, just based on last year's numbers, but based on this year's numbers as well. I think special teams is going to be a big key to this game.
And also Ian MacKay. I mean, seeing what he was able to do against Vancouver, 10, 4, and 14 in 3 games, that's massive. He had 2 hat tricks and then a 4-goal performance. And from what we saw last game when he was double shifting, playing defense and offense, if they repeat that for some reason, and again, I think it's a pressure thing, where he wasn't just focused on offense, he had one of his best games of the year. Now, he's had other good games this year. It's not like he's gone completely silent. He's had ups and downs, but
night.
Yeah, it was a great. I know he had the 1 goal on the power play, but he still looked good. He looked fresh. He looked like, again, he just looked more confident in himself, playing only partial offense and partial defense. I wonder if they're going to continue with that for another game, which I would expect because it went really well. And if they do go with that, I wonder if we kind of see the old MacKay that played Vancouver last year, where he comes up with a hat trick, and if he can have that kind of night and then the rest of the team can pitch in what they can, that's what you're going to need in order to beat Vancouver.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because that's what we mentioned on the reaction show on Monday is I think this is the best role for Ian MacKay right now, because the offense just isn't there. Like, I'm not saying he got figured out, but second year as a full-time forward just hasn't gone his way yet. I don't know if it's because Kluch was soaking up some picks for him to set him free, or what the situation is, but he just hasn't looked the same as he did last year. And it's hard to repeat what he did last year because he kind of took it by storm. But I do think that this two-way role, kind of like a Zach Currier-esque, is probably the best role for him right now. And based off a win, I don't know how you go away from that. But for those that are asking, because I have mentioned multiple times, Jesse King and Curtis Dixon did not play for Vancouver last year. They did face Buffalo twice. Dixon went 6-2-8 on 13 shots. One game he scored 6 goals. I'm sorry. No, I read this incorrectly. I apologize. The first game he went 6-2-8. As a total, he went 6-7-13. King first game 4-6-10. Followed it up with 1-3-4. So a total of 5-9-14. So yeah, they're adding that to what Vancouver had last year. So it's there's a reason that this team came into the regular season as most people's pick to make it to the finals, if not win it all.
And the interesting thing about those players, and it kind of, I'll wait till we go over the forwards. I'll wait. Continue on.
As we have done the past 2 weeks and a week before that, until I completely forgot to do this, we sent out a Instagram, Facebook, all the social media sites, Ask the BSC. And it's kind of a weird, way to phrase it, because even if you have thoughts or comments on the game as well, we want to hear that. But 24 hours before we record, we sent out a message to the followers on all the social media sites to just send us questions, comments, concerns, praises, Venmo requests for you to Venmo us, not us to Venmo you, because we don't have any money. But again, next week it'll be out on Tuesday going into Wednesday as well, because remember, next week is also another Thursday show. But we got a couple of replies. Again, we had one comment and 2 questions. The first comment came in and it said, Warriors are historically a difficult matchup for the Buffalo Bandits. Now, to an extent, I agree with it, because in the regular season, they're 0-2. And in both those games, Buffalo lost 13-12. Remember, it was 2 years ago where they lost 13-12. They fell to 5-6. We came on here and said, relax, they're probably just not going to get a first-round playoff game. And then they ended up getting it to Georgia and winning it in overtime and all that. But they said the flight back was when everybody kind of like looked inward, and they had that whole conversation, and then they went on that big run after trading for Paul Dawson and getting Connor Farrell in the mix. But they're 2-0 in playoffs. I think the last 5 years of covering this team, since the league came back from COVID, they've only faced Vancouver 4 times, and 3 of them were last year. So I historically, it might not look, it depends on how far back you want to look. To me, I draw the line right at COVID, because a lot of things changed in COVID. Like, I think even a lot of things have changed in the last 4 years, but that to me is my cutoff, because they missed the whole season, and then the season before that was only 11 games for Buffalo. So really, we're going back 7 years. Buffalo's only faced Vancouver 4 times, at least where I'm stopping it. And the regular season has not worked out for Buffalo. That is very true, but they've all been close. So I do expect that this game to be very, very close. And I mean, Buffalo is the one coming in that needs the win. I'm not saying Vancouver wants to lose or has any reason to go soft or any of that kind of stuff, but Buffalo's the one coming in that is in desperate need for a win, where Vancouver's already sitting 6-3. They're looking pretty good. If they fall to 6-4, yeah, that stinks, but it's not like the world's ending. But I guess I'll tie that into the next question in a minute. But yeah, I would, if you're drawing the line there, I wouldn't say it's a difficult matchup, but I wouldn't say it's an easy matchup either.
Yeah, I think that there's 2 ways to look at this game as far as that goes. I think right now, in our eyes at least, Buffalo should be playing every single game like it's a playoff game, because you have no margin of error the rest of the season to lose. So Buffalo's state of mind should be, this is a playoff game, and you're 2-0 against Vancouver when the games matter the most. To Buffalo, this game should matter the most. Now, the flip side of that, Vancouver lost to Buffalo in the playoffs. They're rolling right now. It's an away game. They want to beat Buffalo, arguably worse than Buffalo wants to win this game, because this is a game. It's just a huge revenge game, especially as an away game. Vancouver wants to win this to prove, like, hey, we're the team now. You guys are done. You're over with. And Buffalo needs this game not only to stay in playoffs, but also maybe to prove to themselves, like, hey, we're still here. We can beat a top team. We can still be a top team. So I think both teams' mentalities, for different reasons, are very similar, that they're both really, really going to want this victory.
So the next question that came in said, and it kind of goes off the conversation we had last week before the game as well. If the Bandits lose this game, will they miss playoffs? And we kind of went over it game by game. But to me, and I think we said it when we played your game last week, the pessimistic, optimistic, realistic game, which it's still relevant. Go back and listen. That was a very fun game to play. Magic number's 10. Like, if you get to 10 wins, you're in the playoffs. Like, I'm not guaranteeing it, but when was the last time a 10-18 missed the playoffs? 9-9, you need help. 8-10,
you're in a mess.
8-10, you got like a 1% odds. So getting to 10 wins is massive. That means they need to go 6-3 the rest of the way. And like we kicked off the start, this is a gauntlet of a schedule. So say they lose this week. Just say it's a close battle, they lose to Vancouver. That means they can go 6-2 the rest of the way, which means they still got Sask twice, they got Vancouver again, and they got Colorado again, who all seem to be top teams. So they need, if that's the situation, they lose to Vancouver here, they absolutely need to beat Toronto, San Diego, Rochester, and Oshawa. There's no options. You have to beat all 4 of those teams. And then you need to come up with 2 wins between Saskatchewan, Vancouver, and Colorado. So a win this weekend helps a ton because it gets that 6-3 down to a 5-3, and you get a little bit more room for error there. Not a ton, but a little bit. So I wouldn't say a loss kills them and sends them out of the playoffs, but a loss makes it go. You got to go 6-2 the rest of the way, and you still face 4 of the top teams in the entire league. So it's not dead and buried, but a win to get you back to 5-5 versus a Vancouver team goes a long, long way than going 4-6. So to me, so
yeah,
it's not over. You're not missing playoffs, but it would definitely help if you get a win this weekend.
I mean, especially with it's wild that we'll be 10 games in. We're on playoff watch pretty much the rest of the season.
Yeah.
It's not a fun place to be, and it's not a place that I think Bandits
not used
fans
to it. More talking points, though.
Yes, that's true. We'll go over the matchups later, but there are a lot of big matchups as far as Buffalo goes this week. I mean, San Diego plays, which would be a huge loss. Toronto plays, which would be a huge loss. So we'll say Toronto and San Diego lose, hypothetically, this week. They'd be both at 5-5, and Buffalo would be at 5-5. So right there, and they're sitting, 5th and 6th in the standings right now? So that would jump Buffalo, and then Las Vegas and Rochester aren't doing anything this week. They're both 4-5. So you would launch right into the thick of playoffs. Yes, the schedule is still nasty and looks real rough and tough, but if you win this game, you get a couple losses, like they're not only like scraping by, like they're in it. Like the bottom being 5 through 8 of the standings right now, they're all 1 game over 500. It's not like the top. Typically, this is what kind of happens in the NLL. Like the top teams seem to separate. This year, there's 4 of them so far because Georgia and Colorado came out of nowhere. So those teams the top 4 have pretty much pushed themselves into their tier, their own. But after that, it's pretty much wide open. So 5 through 8, if you get this win and you get a little help, like you're right in the middle of all of it. And yes, the schedule is still really rough. So it's not easy, even this win, not everywhere near guaranteed or easy, but I still think it's like you said a couple weeks ago against Philly, it wasn't a must win, but it was as close to a must win as you want to get. Like if they lose this, no, it's not over, but you want this win because it frees up the rest of your schedule just that little bit, gives you a little bit of that wiggle room for error.
Yeah, but magic number is 10. We'll maybe start a countdown or something. I know I said I would be in the swimming pool for the Bandit or the Sabres behind me, but I didn't expect to just fully dive in, so I didn't make the board. Maybe I'll do the countdown to the magic number of 10 for the Bandits.
They got
we're
4
at 4 right now. We're at 4. We got to get to 10. 10, 9-9, you need help. 8-10, you need to go pray to any of the gods you know.
Especially because a lot of people around them right now, they lost the tiebreaker too already.
Yes, that's the other big part. It's not the 4-game losing streak, and because 4 games you can spread that across the whole schedule. If they go like I don't know 7-2 the rest of the way, they have 4 games you can spread it across the schedule, and it looks different. But that 4-game losing streak, based on who you lost to during that stretch, are teams that you're going to be fighting in the playoffs with. The schedule that's looking forward, that's an absolute gauntlet. Like the front half of your schedule, when you're looking at it now, was your easy part. Now it's the difficult part of the schedule, and you haven't even gotten there, and you haven't played your best ball yet. So hopefully they're hitting their rhythm. But we got one last question that got written in. Would you rather play a team that you're facing twice at home first or away first? I'll let you take this one first.
I think at home first.
That was the way I was leaning.
I think because after 1 game against them, they have tape on you. It's a little bit different. People make the adjustments. I think the first game you play against each other in the season, I know there's tape out in general, but I feel like that first one's a little bit more up in the air, and because you haven't seen that team this year, you've already explained the differences from Vancouver, and Buffalo also looks very different. So going into that first game, it's a little bit of a chess match of how it's going to play out. But after that, you see how you played directly against that team, and I think you make adjustments, and then you kind of don't want to be you don't mind being away for that game because it's harder to play. So it's okay. I think you have a higher chance to win, I'll put it that way, of the first game of the two, and you want that at home to give you that much more of an advantage.
Yeah, I agree. If you win the first one, you want it at home, and then you can go on the road, and if you steal it on the road, that's even better because then you sweep the season series. But yeah, I agree with the tape, having played them, although last year when it was back-to-back weekends versus Calgary and you lost at home and then went and spanked them and beat them on the road. So maybe you want.
I mean, that one they weren't supposed to lose at home, but
that's also Curtis Dixon went nuts, and you're going to see him this weekend.
He sure did. My goodness.
Before we start diving into the actual game itself and the players that are going to be playing in it, let's go over a sponsor of the show, Tap That Tap Room.
Tap That Tap Room is at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned Southpaw bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps offering a variety of malt beverages, seltzers, sours, ciders, and beer.
Friday, 5 to 7, it's happy hour, drink specials, and music the entire time. Then you can either stay or go home, take a quick nap, and then come back. Because 10 p.m., it's the late night game because Buffalo's way out in Vancouver. It's the Bandits watch party.
Tap That Tap Room after dark.
Tap That Tap Room after dark, but the lights will be on. Don't worry. It'll just be dark outside. Games will be on all TVs. Sound's going to be on. I've said this multiple times. It's the place to be because everybody that's there, you know why you're there. It's not like you're going to one of these other watch party bars, quote unquote, watch party bars, because other people that are there aren't there to watch the Bandits. They're going to be looking over their shoulder going, why the heck are so many people wearing orange and high-fiving? This is the place to be because everybody's going to be dressed in orange and you're going to high-five everybody and they're going to know why you're high-fiving them. Like I said, games on every single TV there, sounds on. It's a fantastic atmosphere. And then you're going to want to grab your calendars for this because March 5th, it's the Bandits Cookie Decorating Class hosted by Buffado, BUFFA_dough. It sounds amazing. I love cookies. I don't like decorating them, but I'll go there and eat the cookies. So if anybody wants to decorate Bandits cookies and allow me to eat them, let me know. And I'll show up and I'll support you and I'll cheer you on and I'll wipe that brow. I'll grab a towel and dab your brow. I'll do that.
PK will judge your cookies, and the fee is he gets to eat them.
Yes. The fee for me dabbing and critiquing and applauding and encouraging is I'm just going to eat every cookie that you make. Sorry, take pictures real quick because as soon as you put that phone down, it's gone. Find out what else they got coming up. Check out their Facebook page and find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Check out tapthattaproom.com. Let's dive into the actual game now. We kind of went over the forwards already. They were running 6 forwards. When we talked to Brad Challoner on yesterday, I should know that because it just happened yesterday. He was mentioning that they were running 6 forward system. They were running 10 guys out the back door and then Max Adler. So the guys that you can probably expect to see, they're going 3 and 3. Adam Charlambides, Marcus Clarich, and Jesse King on the left-hand side. Ryan Martell, he's mentioned it. They're desperately missing him. He's only played in 1 game, 1 loose ball. He's been on the IR, so I would not expect him to play in this one. And then on the right side, it's Keegan Ball, it's Curtis Dixon, it's Ryan Sheridan. Ryan Sheridan's doing all the messy work for Keegan Ball and Curtis Dixon. Keegan Ball right now is 21 points over every other player on his team, which includes Curtis Dixon and Jesse King. And somehow, I personally still think he's underrated. Like, he's been an underrated superstar because I think part of it is because he's on the West Coast. But I asked Brad Challoner, is Keegan Ball still underrated, or is he even more underrated this year based on the talent that they brought in? And here's what he had to say.
Yeah, maybe. Like, I don't know. Like the poor Keegan Ball. Right. I don't feel too bad for the guy because he's got a pretty good life. But a guy has his whole NLL career. He's been an underdog or an overshadowed guy, even though he's a perennial 100-point MVP type caliber. And I don't know if it's because Eastern voters go to bed at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. They don't get to see as many Vancouver Warriors games. But like, this guy has been elite for a long time. And I don't think he's more underrated this year. I think he's just not getting as many headlines, but when you have to game plan for the Vancouver Warriors, he's the first name that you're going to pencil if you're the Buffalo Bandits, if you're the Saskatchewan Rush. Like, he is still the heartbeat of the offense. He just has a better supporting cast now than he ever has before. And Curtis Dixon is scoring goals like he's 25 years old, so he's taking a little bit of the shine. But you look at Keegan Ball's numbers, like, he's on pace to lead the league in assists this year for the first time. He's on pace for a career high in points and assists. Like, he might not be as sexy as an MVP pick as a Brett Dobson or a Ryan Keenan right now, who's jumped off the page, or Jeff Teat even, but he's right there, man. I don't think there's anybody sleeping on Keegan Ball anymore.
So somehow Keegan Ball just got better. I think it's probably because of the talent around him. But when you're looking at this, I mean, if they are truly running out 6 forwards, which I believe there's going to be, this defense for Buffalo needs to be super aggressive. You need to wear them out. They're a bit of an older team with Keegan Ball in his mid-30s, with Curtis Dixon at 37, with Jesse King over 30. I mean, Charlene Beatties, Marcus Claridge, and Ryan Sheridan are on the younger end, but your key cogs in this offense are older. And I know Buffalo fans will say Buffalo's got an older offense as well. But if you can wear these big-time guys down by being overly aggressive, by staying out of the box, by being good on the special teams, by having Mitch DeSnew running around like a crazy man again, picking up those loose balls, I do think that they can tire this offense out, who just came off a big-time battle versus Saskatchewan last weekend that played extra minutes, so that's extra minutes on their body. Yes, Buffalo has to fly out to them, which does suck, so maybe they would want the game on the... no, I'm sorry, Vancouver. Yeah, Buffalo's got to fly out to Vancouver. Shut up, Patrick. I'm an idiot. But would you have liked to have Vancouver fly out to us? Sure. I mean, that would probably put even more miles on their bodies, especially on a Friday night. But I do think that having just 6 forwards, if Buffalo's able to play overly aggressive within the lines and staying out of the box, I think they can wear this older offense down.
All right, I have like 5 things to go over real quick.
Perfect.
One is, Patrick, your alter ego, because everyone knows you as PK.
I think so. I was so angry at him because
is Patrick the one you try to like keep down? Like, quiet, Patrick.
He's the one talking in my brain. He's the one that says things. Shut up.
Keegan Ball, I think the way he plays is just so quiet. I think that's a big thing about him. He's a very go out there, get it done, and
especially when
he's
playing off without his helmet, and then the NLL is bragging about it.
Hey, look at this highlight of this penalty that we're not going to call. And for as talented as this offense is, and this is going to shoot Keegan Ball right down, so we're going to stuff him right back where he belongs. Dane Smith is keeping up pace with him, and it's pretty much dead even. So Keegan Ball has 20 goals, 43 assists in 9 games, and Smith has 21 goals and 41 assists in 9 games. They are virtually the same player, but one arguably has more talent around him, so Ball just not that good. But as far as their offense goes...
Clip it.
As far as their offense goes, I was going to say earlier, going back, you and I have complained quite a bit recently about Buffalo's inability with the backside help, no one really helping down low, and we think that they should step back a little bit, crash a little bit, protect Vince a little bit more. A lot of these goals are coming from the inside. This is a team that can get to the inside. They have the talent to do so, but Keegan Ball likes to shoot outside. Dixon likes to shoot outside. King likes to shoot outside. So as much as you and I have been saying that they need to watch the crease, and they still do, because again, these guys can get inside. They have that ability. I think this team's going to like to shoot from outside, and maybe this is a game where the Bandits' new weird to us strategy that doesn't seem to be working all that great is going to be put on display, where they do press out so much harder. Like you said, with only 6 forwards, you can wear them down a little bit more. So maybe we do see a lot more, and with an aging offense that they have, maybe we do see a lot more aggression and more one-on-one play across the board, and hopefully the Bandits defense can just win those one-on-one battles, which they have been not winning, and that's how teams are getting inside. They lose that one-on-one, there's no backside help, and Vince is sitting there like, what the heck are you guys doing? But maybe this is a team that you can go a little bit more one-on-one and force them to the outside, and if they like taking that outside shot, get in their face and limit that outside shot. Don't let them have that wide open opportunity or let their hands get free, like get up in their face and be a little bit more aggressive. So as much as we've wanted their system to change a little bit, hopefully it does a smidge, but maybe this is a team that kind of outward press would work better against.
That's perfect, because you answered the one question I had is, did you want to switch up the system? And you're saying that this system might work. I'm okay with them switching the system. Like, I really am. The issue is they seem to be playing in between. Like, they're not always out on hands. There's too many times where people have free open lanes where nobody's within 5 feet of them. So if you're going to play outward, play outward. If you're going to play in, pack it in. You can't play in between, and that's what it feels like this defense has been doing. And again, I'm perfectly fine if they want to play out there. And to beat inside, yeah, I understand they're getting beat inside multiple times, and we're saying like the backside help's not there. I should rephrase it. The backside help's there. They're just not doing anything about it. Like, how many times I said it on the last show?
Whoa, look at that crease
I've said it so many times. This team is allergic to being in the crease. Like, they're so afraid of it. The backside help's there. They're just reaching. Like, the stick's dangling out there. So if you do want to play on the outside and you get beat on the inside, there's somebody usually right there. They're just not doing anything about it. So I am fine with them pushing out and playing towards hands more, but actually do it. And then you got to have better communication on the back end. Like, if you're getting beat, somebody needs to recognize that and make the actual slide, not pretend like you're sliding and you just go, oh, the crease is there, I can't step in it. Like, crease dives, you're allowed to be in the crease and protect that. Just one time.
And again, I mean, this isn't really the game, because I don't think veterans would really shy away from it, but maybe other teams, I'm still looking for that early first quarter, blow someone up. Again, don't injure anybody, don't do anything overly illegal, but
just let
take
them
a
know
penalty.
If you're going into the crease, you're going to have to pay a price.
You're going to get hit, right?
Yeah.
And they just haven't been playing that as much.
That's what I mean. They're allergic to being in the crease. But the biggest thing here is Dylan Robinson healthy? You clipped it. I mentioned it to you when you were watching back the game to keep an eye on Dylan Robinson. You said the last time you saw him take a shift, it was about 8 minutes left in the third quarter. So is he healthy? Is it just more precautionary? This is a shorter week for Buffalo, who played on Saturday, and now they're playing on Friday. It's a long travel trip. If no Dylan Robinson, do they put in Thomas Whitty, or is it a Zach Belter game? Based on they want speed out there, I think Whitty is a little bit quicker than Zach Belter. No offense to Zach Belter. He's got some wheels on him, but I think they want more of a transition type of team. And I do think that this defense will work better with Zach Belter. But if I'm putting myself in the position of the coaching staff who makes these decisions, I think if Dylan Robinson's out, I would assume they're probably going to put Thomas Whitty in, just based on the same body type and the same type of role that they play.
From what you've seen, do you trust Whitty or Dooley, who plays on the right side and is also a bit smaller, a bit quicker? And I think, like you said, we've seen him a few times.
The issue would be Dylan Robinson would have to go on the IR, which is possible. If he's not playing, put him on the IR and call him up. So that could also be an option. Out of those three options, I mean, Zach Belter's messed up maybe once or twice. Thomas Whitty's messed up like 4 or 5 times per game, and Dooley's kind of just there.
Invisible.
To me, I would put Zach Belter in, but just putting my coach's cap on for John Tavares and Steve Dietrich,
and
I think it's going to be
what they want their
Thomas
defense to look like. Yeah.
But this offense is a bit slower. You can push transition in this one. This is why I think another reason why Ian MacKay's got to play that 2 role. Because if you can get some transition goals, we saw how pivotal it was versus Halifax. You scored 2 transition goals and you won by 1 goal. Ding, ding, ding. I think Ian MacKay in that transition role, pushing the ball up, would also be beneficial.
Like you said last week, him with Desnu as well.
Yeah.
Like those two playing off each other is great to see.
So a push to the defense in transition here. You got Max Adler at the dot. It's going to be a fun battle between him and Farrell. People that claim Farrell had the louder goal, I'm still on Max Adler's side. Max Adler's only at 36%, but he was going against Jake Naso and Trevor Baptiste and Nathan Kapp and Justin Nacio. Welcome back to the league, Max Adler. But you still got Matt Mears. You got Reed Bowering. Reese Callies comes over in the offseason. Jeff Cornwall. I mean, this defense is littered with elite talent and future Hall of Famers. So you're looking at this. Owen Grant, while his numbers, offensive numbers at least, are down a bit, when I was talking to Brad Challoner, he said because he's been playing more at home. Like he's staying home. He's not out in the transition role as much. So does he pair off against Dane Smith? Is it Beers? Is it Dilk? So I do think that this is one of the fears that we had last year going into the playoffs, and that has not changed. This defense is mean, aggressive, and in your face, and Buffalo's offense sometimes crumbles to that pressure. Without Chase Frazier and without Chris Cloutier, you're going to need guys to step up in this offense that can take a beating and get to the middle of the field. They need to be aggressive. Like when Vancouver gets this ball, take a couple extra steps and see if you can cause a turnover, for God's sakes, because we need to manufacture goals in this game if you want to keep up with it. Because again, you're the underdog. You need to find ways to put the ball in the back of the net. If that means gambling just a little bit and maybe having to bust your butt to the bench if you can't cause that turnover on the back check, I do think that this is an opportunity where Buffalo's offense can be a little bit more aggressive on this very aggressive defense and maybe manufacture some cause turnovers and better chances on the reverse transition.
Yeah, this defense versus the Bandits offense one-on-one does not match up anymore on paper. I mean, Buchanan is small. Nanakoke, while he plays physical at times, doesn't do like he draws penalties, but he doesn't do a great job getting inside on his own, which is
He's
what
a
you
bull
would...
in a china shop.
Right. And
everything's
Benesh,
broken at the end.
Benesh is a bit smaller, and he's looked a little bit older. Scanlon is on the smaller side. Josh Byrne looks injured, even though he did look a little bit better last week. I think against an even tougher defense, it's going to be hard for him to find that step. Dane Smith is doing amazing, but he's trying to put the entire weight of the team on his shoulders. And Ian MacKay...
He's got that dad strength now.
He does have that dad strength, which should help. And then Ian MacKay, again, I think it's going to be possibly a big game for him in transition, and he just needs to find... He's been one of the few bright spots getting inside. Yes, half the time he's in the crease. He's got to keep an eye on that, but the other half, he's done a really good job getting inside, finding a way to score those really in-tight goals. He's one of the better ones on the Bandits right now with speed, with aggression, plays that kind of, again, defensive, offensive role, so he knows what it takes to be a defender. He gives other offensive players a beating. He knows what it takes to take a beating on offense. He's going to need to be, I think, your little spark. Like, looking up and down that lineup outside of Smith, it looks like he's the one who's going to need to bang bodies and get inside, which is going to be tough if he's double shifting, because that's going to be a very, very physical night. But he's not one to ever complain about anything, and he does a really, really good job out there. So I think this game is going to come down to a lot of Ian MacKay and a lot of, if Josh Byrne, the glimpses we saw from last week where he beat a man inside once or twice, you're going to need a lot more of that in this game. It's going to be that much harder to find that and find that lane opening. But if he can take a guy one-on-one, crash the net, and score a goal, that's going to be huge, because every single goal is going to be very, very important in this game.
Yeah, two things I think Josh Burns needs to score in the first half again. Good things happen when you score in the first half, Josh Burns. But second one, I love the Ian MacKay take. I think he, for Buffalo, is the most important player in this game, because he's probably going to be double shifting a lot of shifts. He's going to be playing that two-man role, and he has proven that he, at least in the last year, has a number on Chris Delbianco, and that's very tough to do.
Yeah.
And he seems to like being the only one in this offense that really is able to consistently beat him in net. So I still remember sitting in the one press conference. It was Christian Delbianco's, I think, second game back, and Ian MacKay, I think the one question was, what did you think of Christian Delbianco's performance again? And he goes, I wish he would have stayed on the couch one more week. So I do think that your take on Ian MacKay being one of the more important players in this game is spot on. I do think that if he can pop 2-3 goals, I think Buffalo has a very good chance of winning this. But I do think that we saw it with Nanakoke last week, where he was able to draw 2 penalties. This team needs
that's going to be his big role.
This team needs to be able to get those power play chances. We said it on the last preview show. Sometimes you can't just put it up to the ref to make the call. Like, you can't just say, like, he was holding me. You got to charge through a body and make them make that call. So I do think that as the underdog going into this game, which is something that we haven't said very often covering this team for 5 years, you need to get those chances. And when you get those chances, You need to bury them. You cannot afford against Vancouver to go 1 for 4. And I know their power play has been excellent this season, including the 2 games where they didn't get a chance. So they're still up and over 60%. But versus a Vancouver team, you can't afford to go 1 for 4. You have any chances you get, you got to go over 50%. If you get 3 opportunities, you got to cash in on 2 of them, if not 3. Like if you get 1 chance, you got to go 1 for 1. But I think if Buffalo's going to win this one, they need to get 4 or 5 chances on the power play, and you need to cash in 3 or 4 of those. It's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it very early on in the show. Special teams are going to be very important. I mean, again, what we saw last week from Buffalo against a very desperate Halifax team who also has a very good defense, also has very good goaltending. Like, the blueprint for what they did last week is what you want to do the rest of the season, but they need more of everything they did last week. They need more power play goals, which, again, hasn't been a problem this season except for last week pretty much. But the shorthanded goal to win it, you had the 2 transition goals, you had depth scoring across the board. But again, to me, you still need one of your depth guys to go off and then add all the other depth guys to throw in 1 or 2 here or there. But you need someone to go 2, 3, 4 on depth and then have Byrne have a good game, have Smith have a good game. Like, it takes a lot right now without Cloutier and Fraser to really balance the scoring all the way across the board. But it is possible, and they do have the talent on the team to do it. It just, everything needs to click every single night, and that hasn't really happened consistently so far this year. But last week, again, it was a good blueprint of how to win, getting goals from every single angle. You just need that times a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it in the 9 games. Then you exclude the 2 games where they didn't get on the power play. So in the 7 games, they've only gone under 50% twice. Game 1 versus Georgia, they won 1 for 3. And then last week, they won 1 for 4. They got a 1 for 2 mix in there versus Colorado. I know that didn't really matter, but 4 for 5. They went 3 for 3 versus Rochester, 2 for 2 versus Calgary, 3 for 5 versus Halifax the first time through. So they have the ability, they've had the track record this season to be really good in the power play. And I just think that that is one of the biggest keys to this game is the special teams. And I think Ian MacKay might play a bigger role. I mean, the 2 or 3 goals that he might pop might be on the power play. There's no reason he can't play the majority of the power play time. But we're looking at the goalies. We already know Christian Del Bianco, 9.22 goals against, 82 save percentage, just ridiculous numbers. And they're not even the best in the league. See Dylan Ward and Brett Thompson. But it's not going to be easy to beat Christian Del Bianco. It never is. I know dating back to his Calgary days, I remember when we were in my basement and watching that game, and Christian Del Bianco gets pulled because Buffalo lit him up. I mean, how many times I think he got pulled twice in that game. I think he got pulled, then they put him right back in, and then he got pulled to into the fourth quarter, I should say. But for this one, you cannot let him get settled, because if he gets settled, you're done. Like, if you do not pop in at least 2 goals in the first quarter here, I don't know how you're going to beat Christian Del Bianco in net, just because of how good he is. And again, that goes back to Josh Byrne scoring early. That gets back to, in the transition game, getting those opportunities there. That gets another power play. What's the best way to beat a goaltender that's on fire? Man advantage. I do think that the biggest keys to this one are getting Josh Byrne involved early, getting a couple goals put past Christian Del Bianco early, Ian MacKay, and then special teams. To me, those are the big 4 keys to this game.
Yeah, I mean, they've only allowed double digits 4 times and over 10 twice. So not going to be easy. But again, Halifax wasn't easy either. I mean, they have a very good defense. They were only allowing 10 goals per game. I mean, Halifax has been struggling because their offense has been non-existent the whole season. And that's why their team has been struggling a bit. It wasn't really their defense or goaltending. In Buffalo, while it wasn't the prettiest after Hutchison came in and shut them down and made them look silly, early on they were rolling. So they just need to find that spark again. Hopefully start this game a little bit early, but you're going to need to get to double digits, and you need your defense and Vince to play like it's a playoff game.
So I know our predictions aren't out yet, but spoiler, you took Vancouver, I took Buffalo, and based on the early numbers, the people are leaning with Vancouver. This might be the first time all year. No, last week. Last week people took Halifax because of the coin. So second time this season, people are taking Vancouver. Phil, what is your score prediction for this game?
I hope it's close. I mean, I guess a loss is a loss and a win is a win, so it doesn't really matter how either happen, but it's a little more confidence boosting if you lose a close one to Vancouver. I'm going to go with an 11-9 loss.
Okay. take that for what you want. Phil is
A Buffalo Bandits
1-1 so far this season when picking Buffalo to lose. He picked him to lose versus Calgary 12-11, and they won 13-7. And then he picked him to lose versus Colorado 11-9, which I guess that's bad. They lost 20-9. I have them winning 10-9. I have not picked that score yet. So I do think that maybe this is just false hope. Maybe this is me thinking that, can they really go 1-5 in their last 6? This is not a Buffalo Bandits team. I just think that now that they're considered an underdog and they can use that mentality, and having Mitch Desnew back for good, and
a whole game removed from injury too.
Yeah, and Buchanan was questionable last game. He looks like he came out of it clean. It seems like they're all healthy, knock on wood. I know we're probably going to get the injury report on Friday, and something's going to pop off that we're not ready for. That's what always happens. But I guess for Dylan Robinson is the biggest question mark. But I got them winning 10-9. I do not think that they're going to be able to score big on Christian Del Bianco, but I do think that they can put in enough to beat this team. It's going to be a nail biter. It's going to be real close. You're going to be up until 1 o'clock and then nervous to fall asleep, realizing that, was it real? Are they back to 500? Yeah, they're back to 500, but I got them winning 10-9 in a very nerve-wracking, nail-biting game.
Yeah, I think Vince, to me, is going to be a massive key to this game. I think he's, again, going to have to be.
You need what you had last week.
I was saying, I think you saw it last week, and even when they won the game last week, I mean, obviously, you and I know what it meant to the team because it was win that game or else you're in a world of trouble. But seeing Vince's expressions at the end of the game, that not only are they off the 4-game losing streak, but like their season can carry on. Like that was a massive game to push forward and still push for playoffs. He was screaming like they just won a playoff game that sent them to the next round with how relieved he was and how excited he was for that game. So maybe we do see a switch in Vince and how he's playing. I mean, last game he was up and over 80 save percentage and looked incredible. If they can get him like that the rest of the season, hopefully the defense can come along with him a little bit better. But if you see playoff Vince playing every single game, I think this team has a good shot in any game they go into.
Agreed. You need a playoff Matt Vince, and we saw preparing for playoff Matt Vince last week. We need playoff Matt Vince this week. But we'll move on to the fastest milestone minute in all the land. Still looking for sponsors. All these possible milestones can be found on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to each and every game. So if you miss one and you don't want to listen back, because I'm super quick, I could be an auctioneer. You can look for them there. We got 10 again this week. We lost 2 last week because they were accomplished, and then 2 more joined the party. Phil, stopwatch ready. And away we go. Ryan Benesh is 1 assist away from passing Callum Crawford for 7th place in NL history, averages 2.7 a game. Ryan Benesh is 4 points away from tying Colin Doyle for 4th place in NL history, averages 4.68 a game. Ryan Benesh is 4 points away for tying Mike Kersey for 5th place in Buffalo Bandits history, averages 5.2 a game for his Bandits career. Steve Perillo is 3 loose balls away from 1,500 for his career, he averages 6.11 a game. Cam Warriors is 3 loose balls away from 200 for his career, he averages 4.58 a game. Josh Byrne is 5 loose balls away from 500 for his career, averages 4.27 a game. Kyle Buchanan is 4 assists away from 400 for his career, averages 1.91 a game. Kyle Buchanan is 2 points away from tying Darius Kilgore for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history, averages 3.16 a game in his Bandits career. Dane Smith, 2 cost turnovers away from tying Kevin Brownell for 3rd place in Buffalo Bandits history, averages 0.63 a game. And Josh Byrne, still 10 games in, 1 cost turnover away from tying David Brock for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history, averages 4.46 a game.
He had about 10 seconds to spare.
Oh, I was quicker this week. I think because of all the loose balls. That was quicker.
If Dane Smith and Josh Byrne could both get caused turnovers, that would be great.
I do want to point one thing out. I know I'm cutting you off.
Here we go.
Last week it was 1 caused turnover. Then I realized, and round of applause, I'm not going to hit the button because I don't want to sync the audio tracks, but the NLL, if you click on the players' profiles now, all of their stats are there. Compiled. Now, it doesn't just stop. It goes all the way through, including this year. So thank you, NLL.
I don't believe you.
Finally, the NLL has some stats for individual players that are accurate and on the player's profile.
Wow.
For the first time since we started covering this team 5 years ago, something that we've been complaining about nonstop. I thought I would at least acknowledge that the NLL is actually doing something about some stats. So I went back and I checked all my numbers, and I realized Dane Smith, I gave him one extra caused turnover than he actually had. So now he's 2 behind Kevin Brandel. So don't come at me. I did officially correct it, and these numbers are officially correct based on the NLL website.
Look at them allowing you to not have to keep tracking the spreadsheet all by
I
your
still have
lonesome.
to, but it's easier to cross-reference my numbers now.
Also, I do want you to check for next episode. After Josh Byrne gets this one caused turnover, is the next person in line like one more away where he's still just going to be on this list anyway?
I think so. I really think so. Hang on, let me pull it up really quick because it's right here. Oh God, please! Why did you do this to me?
Thought it'd be funny.
No, he's 6 away from Alex Hill for 9th, so I got some time, baby. I got some time. Whew. Like the sweat. Where's my cookie white sweat off my brow kind of thing? All right, we'll go over the NLL outlook. Only 3 more games, and before the Bandits take the field, 7:30 on Friday. 8-2 Colorado heads to the 5-4 Toronto Rock. Buffalo will be there next week, fresh off a game versus Saskatchewan the night before. You took Colorado. I went with the upset, picking Toronto because I need to claw back in the people's picks. The people have not picked yet, but spoiler alert, Colorado is running away with the total. So I am in the very small minority of picking Toronto. But what are your thoughts on this one game on Friday before the Bandits take on Vancouver?
Yeah, I noticed when you announced your picks, I was like, oh, PK is trying to catch up, it looks like.
I am.
got some upsets in there.
I'm going to get ya.
Like I said earlier, Buffalo needs
behind.
Toronto to lose. This would be a big loss for them. Colorado is going to be untouchable by the Bandits, so who cares what they do? Keep climbing, have fun, and lose to the Bandits later in the year. Colorado smoked Toronto in their back-to-back game. Yes, it was in Colorado. Toronto had to travel, but it was Colorado's second of the weekend, so still a tough ask for Colorado. I think maybe them going back east will be easier for Toronto, and it'll be an interesting Toronto revenge game, and I think it is going to be a game they really, really want because they're not sitting pretty either. I know Buffalo's 4-5, but they're not great in the standings, even though they're 5-4, so it's going to be a big game for Toronto, but to me, Colorado right now, we've already mentioned it. I know the Rush and Vancouver kind of have the powerhouses behind them, but Colorado is just a wagon. Like they are really tough to beat.
Yeah, I'm not just picking Toronto because you guys approved me to sit in the box. Picking you because I need you. Colorado can't keep this up. They got the longest game-winning streak in their franchise history at 7. It's got to end at some point, and you just got embarrassed last week versus Colorado. Like, yeah, it was, I think, 16-6, but that score was even, or 16-8, I think they got it to. It wasn't even that close. Your goalies got run out of the building. You really, for everybody that's like, Nick Rose isn't all that good, he just showed he would never have that happen to him. So, yeah, I think Halachuk needs to have a big bounce-back game. The veteran point producers for Toronto have to have a big game, and their defense needs to be able to control what Jack Hanna, Will Malcolm, and especially Andrew Q can do on that offense, even though I don't know if that's humanly possible from anybody. Saturday, 10 p.m., the only Saturday game, and it happens to be very late. 3-6. Why do I have a 9 there versus, maybe it's foreshadow. 3-6 Halifax versus 5-4 San Diego as Phil switches it for me. We both took San Diego. I was not this dumb. This was a for sure loss if I was taking Halifax. So what are you looking for in this one?
So we already discussed the tough road Buffalo has, and I guess this was going to be my question for you. We already talked about it to death at this point. If Buffalo would have lost last week, we thought they were in a huge amount of trouble. Do you think within the Halifax realm of the NLL that if they win this game, they feel like they still have a chance to make playoffs, or do you think it's kind of over? Because like the big difference is, do you get a desperate Halifax team that's trying to do everything they can to stay in the hunt against a team that they need to beat to climb up the standings and get in the hunt? Like, this is a big standing swing. Yes, it doesn't really move Halifax, but it gets a team that's in the playoffs closer to you, and then you stay in it. Or do you think, I mean, Halifax is still going to play hard. I'm not saying they're just going to throw the game away, but there's a big difference between a desperation play to keep your season alive versus our season's over, let's go out and just try to have a productive game. Like, what Halifax do you think we see? And like, do you think they still believe they have a shot to possibly make playoffs?
So there's two different answers. Do they still believe 100%
Sure.
based on the standings? I believe that they still think they're in it because you're looking at Buffalo's just a game ahead of them in the standings right now.
Yep.
Buffalo's right in it. Like they're tied for the 8th spot. Halifax is right behind them. And so I think they believe. For me, if Buffalo had lost that game, I would be saying the exact same thing that I'm about to say right now. Halifax is toast. And when they lose this week, it will just reinforce that their season's done. Everybody that believed in Oshawa, that's saying like, hey, look at the schedule, and then they lost to San Diego by 6 goals. When Halifax loses to San Diego this week, they are also going to be toast because they're going to be 3-7. You're going to have to go 7-1 down the stretch. So I do think personally, I think their season's done, and I think San Diego is going to be able to stick another fork in another team and end their season officially this week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, I picked San Diego for a reason. I think San Diego's on the up.
Especially at home, too. That's a long trip for Halifax.
And the game's a very long trip. But the game San Diego's been winning, at least recently, it's been Philly. Philly, again, ignore what the Bandits did against Philly. We can't take that anymore. They lost against Saskatchewan, and then you beat Oshawa. So even this game, like you just mentioned, like you'd be crazy to pick Halifax in this game. San Diego is not winning great games, so it's hard to judge them as a team right now. They're winning.
They're beating the teams they're supposed to beat.
Yes,
And that's why
which is still a big deal. And again, Buffalo
didn't do that. So
yes. So I'm just interested to see what San Diego continues to look like, and if O'Rig continues to play like he has been recently, that's going to be a really tough out for Halifax.
So if this game is not 100%, I don't know how the people's picks. Somebody picked Philly. 9-1 Saskatchewan, 2-7 Philly. Sunday at 3 p.m. We're getting a little Sunday lacrosse. It just happens to be one of the best teams versus one of the worst teams. My main watch in this one is, can Saskatchewan hold Philly to 5 or fewer so I can get even bigger of a gap 10 games in? Because right now I think my gap is 3 goals, I believe. So, yeah, I need that down a little bit further, guys. So Saskatchewan, lock up Philly and don't let Michael Sowers go bananas because he has the ability to do it. I like Philly's offense and some of their players. I have to keep up the shtick all season long. I have to. It's just in me.
PK is just dunking on Philly the rest of the season.
Boom! Hang on the rim.
But we'll see if we still need Buffalo Joe just to remain healthy.
Stay healthy.
Gives
stinks so you drive down the trade value.
Yes, gives Buffalo a chance to maybe get you at some point in the future. We'll see. Yeah, there's nothing really interesting about this game, which is sad, but good for the Rush.
Sad but true. But that ends this one. We'll be back Monday, so you get an extra long vacation from us. So we'll break down Buffalo versus Vancouver on the Monday show, along with these 3 other games, and we'll see where Buffalo shakes out at the end of this. We're throwing them in the washer, tossing them in the dryer, and see what they come out, if they're still stained or not. We'll find out. So that will conclude this episode. Remember to check out our interview with Brad Challoner on Wednesday. It came out on Wednesday. Go check it out now. And then our Power Rankings and NLL BSC Pick'em comes out tomorrow on Friday. But if you're going to Vancouver, have a safe flight. Enjoy the city. We talked to Brad about that a little bit. Told him I was in Vancouver, and he gave me more suggestions when we go back. But thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com, where you can read Phil's article. Get you prepared for another victory in Banditland. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye!